Good day everyone. In this tutorial we're going to try and get a grip of how MVC frameworks work. Raw PHP is a PHP framework that works with the MVC pattern. That's the way the files are organized, you understand? So the M stands for model, the V stands for controller, for view, and the C stands for controller. You know, usually if you're designing your site with just PHP, you mix everything together. Both the database connection, calls, and everything is written on the same file where your form is existing, and written on the same file where your methods and controller logic is existing. So in MVC, everything is kind of separated. So I'm going to show you a picture that will kind of explain it for you, so you have a general overview of how these are organized. So first of all, we have our database, which we have here, and we called it raw jobs. That's our database, and then we connected to it when we set up our database files. Remember, in raw PHP there was a point where we set up in config. We had our config file here, and we set up this database connection. So this is where we made the connection to this database. This is our database. This is where we made the connection from here. And then the database first communicates with the models. The models kind of loads the database data. See where we have models in raw PHP. The models are inside the app folder. Let me minimize everything so it becomes clear to you. So inside the app folder, we have middlewares. We have models. These are models. So every table in a database needs to have a model. And remember, the models are named in capital letters and in singular. So you have row, you have user. But then if you come to the database, you observe that the database tables are all named in small caps and then all plural. So you have posts, you have users. Everything is named in small letters and all plural. As you can see, they're all plural, but then your models are named in singular and is capitalized, which means the first letter is always capital letter. All right, so from this, the model kind of loads the database, and you know, it goes to and fro. This arrow is not correct, it should be to and fro, you understand? And then from the model, the controller gets information, and this arrow should be to and fro again. Controller loads information about a certain table, for instance the post table. So here you have post.php. So right here we're just going to put so for instance here we have posts, all small letter, that's post table. So here we have the model is going to be post.php, and then here we have the controller. The controller is going to be, yeah, starts with capital letter, but this time it's plural, posts controller.php. And then we have routes, then you have views. The views will now be in resources, views, posts. It will have different posts, the posts folder. It will have different posts views, which is the add, edit, and delete. We'll get to that. So controller connects to the model. So let's look at our posts model, for instance. Here's our post model. As you can see, it just loads Laravel eloquent model. If you are using Cake PHP, you can just uncomment this. If you uncomment this, it will start using Cake PHP too. So you can use both Cake PHP and Laravel inside it. Alright, that's the main purpose of raw PHP. Different people from different PHP backgrounds can work on the same project. So and the link is here. If you want to read up about Cake PHP model, you should read it up. And if you're using Laravel, you should read up Laravel Eloquent. After all, this is supposed to be 5.4. So you just copy this link, paste on your browser, and read up the Eloquent. It kind of helps you understand how to write some of these codes. Alright, so these are post model. As you can see, it connects to the posts table on the database, and then there are some fields that will need to be allowed to fill that are assignable. All right, we'll get to that later on. And then if we go to the post controller, have the posts controller. If we look at the top of the file, we'll see that something is happening. After the namespace, these two guys is loading the users table is loading the posts table too. So it's calling on the posts model that we just saw right now. So the post controller kind of takes information from the post model and is able to send information. Once you have this, it's able to use the posts table to send and receive information. All right. And any other table that any other model that you involve here, you can use it somewhere in your code. As you can see, we had users because we wanted to find a certain user's details and wanted to be able to find a certain post details. So we have users and post models. So in a controller, you can load several models that you need, but most importantly, you need to load the model for that controller because you most likely need it. So back to our image here. Now the controller is ready. The controller has several methods. So for instance, right here, our model is ready, and inside our model we'll have several methods. This is the index, and it's supposed to list all users or all posts. Then this is the view that's supposed to display posts. Remember, you can always write your own. Just make sure that you started with public function, then you call your model anything, because in the end the views will make a call to this model through the routes. Then this is the one that is used for adding posts. This contains the code for adding posts, and this is the method for editing posts. This is a method for deleting posts. You basically need these methods in almost all your models. You need to view all. You need to view a certain item, then you need to add, edit, and delete. Alright, so this is the kind of thing you have in your controller. Then you have your view. I'll get to routes. The view will contain the view for each of these. So if, according to this code basically finds all posts and displays it. And then where does it display it? It displays it in a view file called index.twig that is inside posts. So if we go to resources, let me minimize all this. We go to resources, go to views. So what we have is a posts folder. As you can see, there's a post here. So we'll look at the posts folder, and we're looking for index.twig. So if we go there, we'll see the HTML. There's an HTML for displaying lists, a list of all posts. So this is what the user sees. This will show all the posts. So if we go to raw PHP file and we go to home page, localhost /8000. So if we go to the home page and see the list of posts, that's exactly what the user, this is the list of posts. So this is the page that handles it. This index.twig, it handles it. So how does this page get displayed? Through the routes that I've explained in the earlier videos. Through the route. So there's a route for each of these files. Each of these views have a route. Each of these views, there's a route for it. So if we check the route file that's under the resources and check under posts, look for the posts route. And here under posts, we will see that there is a route for index, there's a route for add, there's a route for edit, and there's a route for view, and there's a route for delete. Alright, so this is how the MVC works. So it starts from the view. Either you're sending a post request or a get request or put patch delete request. It passes through the route processes it and decides which controller to forward it to, which controller method or action to forward it to. So it forwards it to a controller method, for example index, and then from there the controller decides what to do, which is basically make a call to your model, and your model fetches information from your database and passes down to the controller, and the journey starts backward again. There's going to be a view that will be displayed, and then the user will see the result of their query. So this is how it works. See you in the next video where we'll set up a database and continue from there.